I wanted to just introduce the new Family Faith Formation office. Erin Keller is here in the middle. She is our fearless leader. She's the director of Faith Formation and is overseeing Family Faith Formation, youth, young adult, and adult. And we are happy to have her tonight. She's going to lead us through an activity towards the end of our training this evening. I, for those of you that don't know me, am Amanda Pfeiffer. I am the Family Faith Formation coordinator. I am a mom of 2 boys. They are 7 and 4, and they are enrolled at St. Pat's School. But my family and I have been parishioners of the parish for almost 10 years, and St. Pat's is really near and dear to my heart. It is my home away from home, and it is my desire in this new program for every family to really find that piece of home within our parish. Chris Kerr is over here in the blue. Some of you may recognize Chris from last year. She worked with Mary, but she is really the right hand and my right brain a lot of days for this office and has been super instrumental in getting this program rolled out. And so she has been very busy working through all of the enrollment for the new program, but she is going to walk us through some more office administrative details tonight. And then I'm also happy to introduce Amanda. Amanda Hookey. She's up here in the front. Amanda is a former DRE from St. Charles Borromeo, and we have tapped into her strengths, talents, and abilities, and she's really going to help us a lot this year on the curriculum side. So later this evening, we're going to take you through what the lesson plan for September looks like, and Amanda had a really big role in kind of laying that all out for us. So she is going to be doing a lot with curriculum, and then helping Erin extensively with the retreats as well this fall. So that is our team. The other 2 people that I would like to introduce tonight that haven't yet been formally introduced to the whole parish, but there were a number of positions on the faith formation side that we interviewed for. And I am happy to introduce Jim Roof, who is going to be our new faith formation minister of adult, right? And then Johnny Murray is going to be our new youth minister. And so he is going to be taking Adam Stevenson's place on the youth side, and Adam is going to be shifting into more of a young adult role. So don't worry, Adam's not going anywhere. He also expressed that desire to kind of move into that role. He really wants to be able to minister to 20, 30-something younger families, younger parents, and I think that there really is a big need for that in the parish. So they are our new team. Do you guys want to say anything?
How do you feel about that? You can go first. Hey everyone, so my name is Johnny Murray. I'm excited to be part of the parish and just got a lot of exciting things happening. Adam and I will be working together as a team, just kind of spearheading this as a 2-headed monster, but we've got a lot of fun things that'll be happening and just excited to get to know you all. And thank you all for saying yes and coming here tonight and giving your support and help.
So Johnny and Jim, and then we have another intern, Monica Stroll. They are actually going to be really heading up the 7th and 8th grade portion of our Wednesday nights. So they have been working really hard on that, and the kids are going to love it.
Well, I'll just say welcome also. Jim Group, my family and I, Nancy, and we have 6 kids, and we've been members of the parish for over 20 years. In fact, I've sat in these chairs like you at these training sessions for about 20 years. I mostly spent that time being a catechist for confirmation, but about every grade I've been involved with. So I'm feeling very, very fortunate that after a great career that I'm able to come and work for the church and work with adults, and who knows what age adults there are. I believe there's so many people in our communities that are hungry for Jesus and looking forward to finding a meaningful relationship with Him. So I'm incredibly excited about what the future may offer for many of our faith community members. So thank you.
Today was their official first day, so welcome, guys. Thanks for being here. All right, we have a number of things that we are going to cover tonight, and we know that your time is valuable, so hopefully we will not be here for the full time. The first thing that we are going to walk through is just some of the housekeeping items that Chris will go over on the administrative side. Then we're going to talk about the program, what you can expect walking into September, and our first sessions, the logistics of how it's going to work, what your role really is as family faith formation ministers. And then we're going to walk you through the curriculum that we have for September, because we want you to feel super confident and comfortable when you meet with your family small groups for the first time. So we will walk through all of those, take whatever questions you have. We'll talk a little bit about sacrament preparation and what our plans are for this year. And then the family resources that you got, the same bag that all of the families will get when they come to campus next month. Walk through that. And then Erin is going to lead us in an enrichment activity. So, before we get started, any questions? Feel free to raise your hand at any time if you have a thought, and we will hopefully get your questions answered. So, emergency action plans.
I get the fun stuff, don't I? Raise your hand if you were a catechist last year. And you've gone through a fire drill, an intruder drill, a tornado drill, all those wonderful, lovely drills. Okay. What's different this year is that because the parents are with the children, we don't have to take on quite the same safe environment role that we had to in the past, but we still cannot abandon the responsibility that we have and the obligation that we have for drills without a drill. So, the first thing I'm going to ask you to look at in your pack, and there's a whole bunch of things in there, so just kind of bear with us. You will not need to open this up here. Just pull it out. Okay. Now what I did with this is by keeping this together in your bag as a leader, we satisfy the fact that some of the people in the building know what they're doing, okay? Basically. Our gathering spaces are no longer inside the classrooms while we're in this COVID period. We are going to be in the activity cafeteria, will be one location. 7th, 8th graders up in the gymnasium, Bolin Hall, and then downstairs under the church in the parish center. Those are our 4 main locations. There will be adults in each of these locations. You being some of them, you will have this guide in your hand. This contains everything that you've ever seen on the walls and in past communications as far as, you know, if you hear this sound, do this, and if you hear that sound, do that, and if there's an intruder, we're going to say whatever, and if there's a tornado, we're going to say whatever. It's all here. The rooms that we use are the same, but I'm going to encourage you to turn this way, to the back side. Don't take anything apart. Everything in the middle, you can read at home at your own leisure. This back map, though, this is our tornado drill map. You're going to see arrows. My arrows have 4 different colors because the 4 different colors are leading us to the 4 safe spaces in the event of a tornado. Once you get your assignment and you know whether or not you're in the actual parish center versus the gymnasium versus the cafeteria versus Bolin Hall, you will follow the arrows from that location to the room that is designated as your tornado shelter, okay? There are only a few of them, and we're all going to be running in the exact same direction or going in the exact same direction. So I suggest to you that once your assignment is there, and if you need my help, fine, only highlight your path. Don't highlight anything else. It'll be way too confusing. It's why we didn't want to give everybody copies with all the different colors on them, okay? When it comes to anything else, a lockdown situation, you are going to the first classroom and closing that door. All of the doors will be propped open and in a locked position, and it is get into whatever room can be locked first. Just the families will be told, just follow the leader, everybody go in the one location. And then obviously if there's a fire situation or a gas leak situation, everybody's outside. Use logic, go to the farthest fence. That's just the simplest way to put it. Do not hang out close to the building. Just whatever exit door it is that you're getting your families out, Just push them back to the farthest fence, and that will suffice as far as our emergency procedures. However, in here is everything. So for those of you that like to read everything and see all the maps and know all of that stuff, that's fine. We will be using the proper words that they have in here as far as lights out and things like that. And then you will basically know you're just doing the best that you can. Obviously, the parents are the ones that are responsible for their children. You're just gonna say, I know where the tornado shelter room is, and that's the one that you're going to bring everybody to. Or I know that we could just jump in any classroom and slam that door shut. It will be locked, and we will hide in the event that there's an intruder in the building. Okay. There's a green piece of paper. This is our very simple attendance sheet. The Archdiocese does not require for us to maintain attendance. However, you never know, that could change. Yet, during COVID, we also have the contact tracing issues that are going on. So if you take a look at this, very, very simply, you have 2 pages stapled together. That's more than enough rectangles to get you through your 9+9 sessions. You're just gonna put your date, you're gonna put your time, you're gonna put your location. Location is either St. Pat's or wherever your second location is, a park, somebody's house, whatever. And then you're just going to, parents don't have to sign, you just want to write down the names of the families. And then just in case we ever have to go back with contact tracing, at least you're the point person and you know that those people were there on that day, and we can go back to you and contact those families. Do not throw these away at the end of the year. Don't throw them away in the middle of the year. I have no idea if the diocese is going to change their mind and say, never mind, keep the attendance sheets. So, and if they do, it will be as simple as you just drop them off to me and I will keep them in a box somewhere and we'll go from there. But we will not be recording attendance. That is probably the biggest change. We are empowering you and we are empowering families. We are not micromanaging. We are not double checking on anybody. We are not calling them and saying, why were you absent? There will be none of that moving into the future in family faith formation. However, if a family contacts you and says, we're gonna be missing this session, that's fine, there's no problem. If you happen to notice that they're not communicating, or you tried to reach out and they didn't reply, and maybe they didn't come a second, that's when we sort of want to know. And we want that because we care about our families. And we want to be able to reach out to our families and to just make sure everything is okay with our families. So you're not the bookkeeper, but you love them. And we kind of write it down on a piece of paper, and then you reach out to us and let us know if there happens to be something that's that you didn't get an answer for, or that you didn't know. That should be it for attendance sheets, right?
Yep.
Yeah, on to the next level. COVID. COVID.
Do you want me to take over this?
You like COVID? You can do COVID if you want to do COVID. Feel free. You're all getting the COVID stuff. And every parent is getting this as well. And as a volunteer, you're asked to sign the top of this that you did receive it and you read it. And parents will also be asked to do the exact same thing. Yes, in the back.
You had mentioned that there are like higher bills and stuff like that. Parents obviously are responsible for their own children. Because we are moving from an RF type situation where the parents drop the kids off and then came out and pick them up later, and this is now more of a family thing where the parents come with the kids. Is there any chance that hasn't been communicated to the families that this has made that change, and there still might be some people who are confused about the fact that it's not an RF situation? Or do you think that's adequate today?
Okay, we've reached out to everybody multiple ways. When we see that people are not opening up the flock notes, we send specific additional correspondence to them. It's going through parish, it's going through our family faith formation, and when it comes down to grouping, they will also be getting specific grouping. And if we see that they are not opening up those correspondence, we will reach out to them. Yes. Yes. Yeah, it is, and it is a change, and Amanda can see that through flock notes. She can actually see who opens every single email, and we've been going through them, and we're down to a pretty good number, so we will. Okay. I don't think we have to do the details on what's on the COVID page, right?
No.
They probably see it everywhere.
But we want to talk them through what it's going to be like when they come to campus.
Yes. We will definitely be taking temperatures, okay? So first families obviously should pre-screen before coming, just as they have to do for school. And if they meet any of the criteria in those boxes but have a doctor's note, that's fine. But at the door, temperatures will be checked, hand sanitizing will be done at that point. Masks are required coming into the building. I think at this point, masks are worn. I'm going to say 90% of the people said they wanted to wear masks anyway. We do have some that say that they don't. We will be grouping people together in groups that want to wear masks or don't want to wear masks. But we also still have to kind of maintain social distancing, and we will be looking at that with our locations. I spoke about contact tracing. Everything is going to be thoroughly cleaned after school, before our first session, although there's very few area that will be a crossover anyway, and between our sessions. So that will be done as well. And when you look at your calendar and you know your week and you see that day and time, if for some reason St. Pat's School has to close, we are closed. Not if Elkhorn Public Schools have to close. The St. Pat's might be running on a different schedule than the public schools.
Yeah, so that is just in the event that St. Pat's School has to close because of a COVID outbreak, then we would not hold our program on campus. We have the blessing of having a smaller school, so the way in which St. Pat's is running, they don't have to abide by what Elkhorn is doing or Bennington is doing. They basically just have to manage what's happening within the physical premise of the building. So hopefully we should be able to meet on campus as frequently as possible. The message that we are going to send out to families this week about what they can expect when they come to campus is that attendance really needs to be a little bit light and loose this year, right? We don't want people to come if their kids are sick, if they think that they're sick. The beauty of this curriculum is that everybody can do it at home at their own pace, so they're not going to be missing out all that much. But because we are in this strange year of a pandemic, we do just want to play it safe and err on the side of caution. So, provided that the St. Pat's School kids are in school, we will still continue to meet. We also have the ability with this curriculum to do a lot of fun things virtually too. So if that so happens, we will be looking to use different kind of e-learning channels for us to be able to do that. Okay. And really all of these fun things that we are requiring people to do as they enter the door is just because we are operating in a building that has school students in it anyway, so you just have to kind of follow the protocol that has been set forth by the school for the school families. Any questions on COVID? Who's totally over it?
Me too, that's okay.
But all of this will be sent out to your families this week of what they can expect when they come to campus, so that nobody should be surprised at all whatsoever. Any questions kind of on all the fun office stuff?
Good.
Okay, we are going to talk now about the program and how it's going to work. As you probably already know, we are asking families to come to campus one time a month at the Wednesday of their choice, first, second, and third. Because we have such a predominance of families this year that have chosen to homeschool due to COVID, we only have to offer it 3 weeks at either 4:30 or 6:30. And actually on the third Wednesday of the month, we're not even gonna have a 6:30 session because we don't have enough people who sign up for that. But we are gonna offer adoration as a time for families if they want to come and worship and spend time in the presence of Jesus. So that will be offered the third Wednesday of the month for anybody who wants to do that. We are gonna email you every month, middle of the month, your lesson plan for the following month. So you'll have anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to get familiar with it, get comfortable with it, ask us any questions. We can kind of decide tonight if you feel like the question answer about the lesson plan is useful, then we can schedule a Zoom call for anybody who wants to jump on and talk about it. We just want you to feel like you are prepared and confident But every single family, when they show up in September, is also going to get a copy of that lesson plan too, because the sessions are not 100% dependent on you leading them. It is in all the families being engaged and working together as part of the learning process. So we're going to give you everything that you need and then some. Everything that you need for your first September lesson is in your bag tonight. We do also have in the Family Faith Formation office a lovely supply closet, so should you feel like at any time you want to deviate from your lesson plan, maybe do something different, feel free to pop in the office before your session and get whatever you need out of there. That closet is for all of you, and we want you to use it as you feel free to do so. One time a month, we're also going to ask the families to get together off campus. And you'll see in your bag, we also kind of have a lesson plan or a little outline of things that you can do there. But the real focus of this time that is spent off campus is not so much on catechesis and the curriculum. It is about families just getting to know one another. It's about socializing and fellowship and really allowing that small family group to just bond and to get to know one another. So don't put a whole lot of pressure on yourself or the other families in your group to feel like, oh, well, we got to do this, we got to check this box and this box. Those things are just there as an outline to help you break the ice and figure that out, but hopefully we'll see some really organic, cohesive relationships starting to form over the first few months. We do want, before you close your first session on campus, to have that kind of date and time decided for that off-campus meeting before everybody leaves. So everybody's writing it on their calendar, they know what's going to happen. Assign somebody in your small group to maybe set up a group text between the primary parent who wants to be in on that communication, so that at least that is solidified and figured out before everybody leaves. Carrie, question?
Yes. Is this date and time? It can be anytime?
Anytime, anywhere, any place, whatever you want to do. Yep. And for some of the groups that are meeting like the third Wednesday of the month, it's okay if you don't meet until October, right? Because you're kind of starting 3 weeks later than what some of the other groups are. We just want to make sure that that kind of social gathering is happening one time a month as well. Question in the back?
Is this program format scaled back because of COVID? Is this what we will, or is this what we will continue to do after COVID's all said and done? This will still be the format where we meet once a month?
This will still be the format that we use once a month. Granted, you probably have different levels of comfort maybe with families this year in what they're willing to do, and you just have to meet people where they are with a lot of grace, right? It's probably going to be easier in the fall when you can still meet outside. People might not feel so comfortable in the winter, but just kind of play it by ear and we'll see what happens.
And then is this second meeting of the month, is that, you might have said this, but is this kind of supposed to be just fun and there's no curriculum, like we're just like you go meet at the mark or go bowling?
Totally,
Like,
yes.
okay.
We have some suggestions in your packet that basically says, what does it say? Your September off campus. We know some groups are probably going to gel a lot better and faster than others, right? So we have given you just some ideas and suggestions for things that you could do if, say, maybe conversation is a little tricky to get started. But yes, really, whatever you want to do, whatever people want to feel comfortable with, we're giving a suggestion for the month of September. We're always going to suggest something, but don't feel like you have to do that. To do a picnic, so we've outlined 10 different locations that you could go to have a picnic, some things that you could do when you're there. But really, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Great question.
How many families are in a small group?
So we are going to be finalizing all of the family small groups tomorrow, but we are thinking no more than 4. And ages kind of vary because some families maybe only have 7th or 8th graders, or they have a 7th and an 8th grader and a 5th grader, so it's just one parent and then one child. So it really kind of is across the board. What do we think like max we would have on a given Wednesday time slot in terms of people?
In the entire program?
Yeah. Like say like 4:30 first Wednesday. It's not that many.
Like under 100.
Yeah.
It's spread out over 3 locations, plus 7th and 8th graders in the gymnasium.
So the beauty of having to just offer it one time a month on campus is we're able to just keep those groups smaller. So people that are coming together is much smaller. And I want to say we probably have 280 families enrolled in the program for this year. But that also includes middle school. So, and they're kind of their own separate entity. Any other questions?
I'm sorry. So I have a 6th grader and an 8th grader.
Mm-hmm.
Does the 8th grader come with us then on the 2nd?
Yes.
And then let's say, like my 7th, next year I'll have a 7th grader, so I'll have no kids
Right.
that are meeting with the family, like,
Right.
how does that happen?
So families that have only middle school age are kind of their own anomaly in that we're not going to require them to be part of another small group. Their kids will just come their Wednesday night of the month. They'll go through all the confirmation and preparation. But really, the families that we're trying to hook and get right now are kind of the kindergarten, first, second, because they're going to grow up through this program. And it's going to be a lot different when they're in middle school, right? Because they're going to, as the 6th graders, they're going to see what the 7th and 8th graders are doing every month, and they're going to get really excited and want to be part of that. And so this is just one of those things that anytime you start a program, we kind of have this weird in between. But
And as adults, it's just going to open up your time to volunteer, whether you volunteer in the younger side of the program, or you volunteer in the older side of the program, or you volunteer in one of the many additional things that the parish is going to bring on, and I'll touch on a little. Those insights are later.
so any questions about how high level, how it's going to work? We are going to walk through what September is going to look like, so hopefully you'll feel comfortable with that. So what's your role as a small group leader? You're going to lead the families in activities and their discussions. Your time commitment is what we talked about. You're there to really get things started and to be their main point of contact. Every family is getting a lesson plan because I would say after the first 2, maybe 3 months max, you should not be leading it, right? Everybody should be taking turns. The kids can lead, the adults can lead, and even as part of your lesson plan for September, they all have it, right? You can ask them to participate and lead one of the activities, or lead the prayer, or lead the discussion. It is less about you and more about them. But because this is brand new and nobody has done it before, people are going to be a little uneasy. I think it's easy for us to stand in front of children and talk and teach, but we get really nervous when it is our own peer group, right? And so hopefully by meeting one time off campus and then also spending time together in the small groups, families are really getting to know each other on a much more intimate level, and that's what we are trying to go for. So you don't have to lead everything, and we're asking that you just empower them, right? Give them the tools that they need to play a role in the lesson planning, to play a role in, hey, what do we want to do this month for our off-campus meeting? And at the end of the day, the parents are the primary teachers of their children, not all of you. And all of the parents that are in the small groups are going to be serving as a resource for all of the children that are there. Do you want to talk about this last part? Because you probably know the line better than I do. Anybody who went to the Mary Our Queen training last week probably heard this line. And I have these pictures up here. Because your primary role is really this: a trail guide, a traffic cop, and a cheerleader. And Amanda's going to talk about what that all means.
So we are basing some of this off of other parishes as well and what they've noticed with their facilitators. And so if we can take some of that information and get that back in your hands so that you guys are empowered with that, that's how we know that you guys are going to be phenomenal at this. So what we're trying to do is get people engaged. And so we're asking you to be a trail guide. So being a trail guide means you're going to make sure that they're staying on topic. We don't want to ever shut anybody out or stop the communication or stop what's going on. The Holy Spirit does amazing things when we're really working and in tune. So we want that to go. But if they get completely off topic, we need somebody to gently guide them back into where we need to be so that we can continue on the process. So therefore, you're going to be a trail guide. You're going to gently guide them through things. Traffic cop. Okay, so we have a lot of different personalities throughout all of our parishes and our families, and we want to make sure that everybody is being heard. So with that being said, the families that have maybe some really eager children who always want to answer everything, or maybe we have somebody who is very knowledgeable in their faith and they have an answer to everything, so we notice maybe one or two of our families are very quiet. They're not getting a chance to answer. They're kind of disengaged. For us to be a traffic cop, maybe would to say, so we're going to ask this next question and we're going to pause for a minute so everybody can think about what we're going to say. And then kind of ask everybody to get them engaged. So more of, who can stop and who can go, because we want to engage everybody. So a traffic cop, and the third one would be a cheerleader. Okay, some people, this is going to be really uncomfortable for them. This is a step out of what they're used to as well. And so we want to make sure that we are positively reinforcing everybody in our small group, in our program. And so if somebody gives a piece of advice or somebody gives information, good job, way to go, thanks, that's wonderful. Glad you said that, and take it off from there. But we always want to reinforce to let them know that little bit that they had was wonderful so that they continue to do that. We really build everybody up. It's our job to give them glow. So we want them to glow, so we will be their cheerleader, their biggest fan.
Awesome, thanks Amanda. Chris is going to share with you, she has 30 plus years of experience as a DRE and a catechist. And when Erin and I first approached her with this idea of shifting away from traditional religious formation and moving towards family faith formation, she was like, really? This is what you want to do? But she has seen over the last 2 months the Holy Spirit at work in the planning of this program. And so she's going to talk a little bit just about her experience of kind of this role as the catechist really shifting and changing from what so many of you have known for such a long time.
Thank you. Yes, Archdiocese of Miami, 30 years. First and foremost, I'm a catechist. I've been a catechist since I'm 16 years old. My heart is as a catechist. But my husband and I worked for the Catholic Church. He worked full-time, I worked part-time, pretty much our entire lives. So things evolved and changed over those times. And as the years went on, I youth group director, liturgical leader, music minister, add it all on, and then eventually DRE, RCIA, adult education and formation, et cetera, et cetera. You kind of start taking on all these roles, and when that happens, you start to change your thinking a little bit about what is my main focus, what outcome do I want, especially when you're in a financial side of budgeting and looking at that, and then you're on the Pastoral Vision Council and they want to know what's happening in 5 years and they want to know what's happening in 10 years, and you're sitting here saying, I just want to teach a class. Can I just go back and teach a class, please? Do I have to really be on all these committees and do all these things? So I come to you from that side of things, and when I first saw the video presentation that was done by another parish here in our diocese, my absolute first words were, and it really had nothing to do with a family faith formation program. It had more to do with their vision of what a family faith formation program was supposed to be, and their vision of what the role of a catechist was. I immediately in my own brain wanted to reject that. I don't reject these programs though. My husband and I have done these programs in South Florida. We've done them many, many, many times, and we've gone into parishes and we've taught them how to do it. So there's no doubt that family faith formation is extraordinary. I mean, over time, we've gone from our Baltimore Catechism and our CCD and religious education and all those evolve and they're all wonderful. And so is family faith formation. But what got to my heart and what I want to share with your heart is, hold on a second, I'm still a catechist. So where do I fit in this? Because I'm creative and I like to share and I like to encourage and I like to listen and I like to watch these kids grow. And even though it might be a little aggravating that the parents don't join in, or that they don't even know what the kids did, or that the kids threw the stuff in the trash can before they even got to the car, which happens all over the place, or as a DRE, that the teachers never even tore the pages out and sent them home, one of my big pet peeves. But even though that stuff all happens, deep down inside, I'm still a catechist. I still want to share, and I still want to love, and I still want to see these children grow, and I want to encourage, and I want to teach, and I'm creative, and I want to do new things, and I want to let the Spirit move me at Sunday Mass and totally change my lesson plan by Wednesday. I still like all of that stuff. I still want all of that stuff. And I want you to know that even though this slide up here is saying you're kind of not doing that anymore because we're empowering parents, I want to suggest to you something different. You are doing that. Your classroom just got bigger. They wear bigger clothes, and they wear bigger shoes, and they drive cars, and they are just as eager to learn as their children are. Because if they thought they knew this, they'd be in these chairs with you, volunteering to be catechists. But the majority of parents, it's just like when my daughter comes home in 9th grade with her new math, and I'm like, oh yeah, I aced math. I was great at math. Oh, sweetheart, call your brother who's 40. I'm sure he'll help you with that math. Mommy's already passed. Whoa, forget it. I'm not, We're not going to admit to our children when they come to church for religious education and formation, when they open something up that, okay, wait a minute, we didn't do it that way, but am I gonna tell my child we didn't do it that way? And oh my gosh, grandma's gonna tell them even something different. Don't ask grandma to help you with that. They're silently, they want to learn too. They want to be brought up to speed. They want to be brought up to what their children are learning right now. They hear homilies in church. They may or may not have time to go to Bible studies. They may or may not have time to go to other formational programs that parishes have available. And they kind of want to get it the same way their kids get it. So your role as a catechist is still a role as a catechist. The difference is you're not following curriculum that has 35 lessons for 35 weeks, tearing the pages out and sending them home, and hoping that Johnny shows mommy and daddy what Johnny just did with you, because it was really an awesome lesson plan. I don't know about you, but when we built that 12-foot candle with all their posters all around, it was awesome. Everybody should have seen it. Probably most of the people didn't, but it was great. I had a great time. Kids had a great time. I have no idea if they ever shared any of it with their parents. Okay? So you are still that catechist. I don't want you to feel anything negative. When I hear words like that we don't like that the parents are not engaged, or that we don't like, to me, I block those things so quickly, because I know the energy and the love that I share. I know that you all do the exact same thing. And I know that deep down inside, even though those parents are gonna walk in, it's gonna be a little awkward maybe, they want it as much as their kids want the love, the energy, the teaching of the things that they weren't sure about. Then when they start seeing their children excited and that their child wants to lead something, you watch them. And it's just like having an entire classroom of kids that instead of them, just being second graders, they're now kindergartners through 40-something-year-olds. And that's kind of just the way it is. My husband used to, I miss my husband sometimes. He died 7 years ago. He used to say education was from the womb to the tomb, and that our job as catechists is to just remind everybody that we never stop learning. We learn in our 40s, in our 50s, in our 60s. We learn right up to the day we die, and then when we watch our loved ones die, we learn more. So that's what it is, and this program allows that to happen, and allows it to flourish, and allows everybody to be nurtured by it. So I gave you one of his lovely little lines. I'm giving you one of mine. I'll leave you with this. You give a man a fish, and you feed him for a day. And you teach a man to fish. Okay, so your new role as catechists is to feed them for life. And I hope you enjoy it and that you love it, and it's great. And if you think for 1 second it doesn't work, I'll give you my 41-year-old son's Telephone number, he's a truck driver, he drives at nighttime, he will gladly at 2 o'clock in the morning talk your ear off about how wonderful this program is because he went through it.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, so your roll continued. The first week, and there is a calendar in your bag that kind of outlines week 1, week 2, week 3 for every month. Week 1 for September starts September 9th. So we are asking prior to your first session on campus that you just reach out to your families. Now, that's going to be different for everybody. Not everybody likes the telephone, I get that. So you can send a group text, you can send an email. Some way to just introduce yourself to all your families and say, hey, I'm your group leader, I'm really excited to meet you and excited to start Family Faith Formation this year. So that's the big thing. The second thing that we talked about before is at the end of your first meeting, or at some point during your first meeting on campus, is to have your group decide what they're going to do, what time and where for the off-campus meeting for that month. And just ask somebody if they want to be the point person on it. That's a great way to get other folks involved. We're asking that you also just check in with your families at least one time a month. Maybe a text message, depending on what you're comfortable with, phone call, maybe, depending on what you want to do. And just ask them how they're doing. What do they have going on in their life? Maybe they're struggling with something personally that they want you to pray for them, and maybe our parish community as a whole to pray for them. But really to just extend that hand and that touch so that they feel like they are being supported and guided in a way that they have probably never felt before. Because what we really want to do is to engage these families in feeling like they are part of a larger parish community that cares about them, that wants to walk beside them, and really be with them in this journey in their faith. And at other parishes that we have talked to, these groups have become really close, intimate, good friends. And so just look at it not so much as this cumbersome task of, oh boy, I have to reach out to these people that I don't know, but really, you're just starting to make a new friendship with people that God has put in your path for a very good reason. Because trust me, I have been praying about these groups and all of you for days and weeks and months. So if you do have a family that you maybe are concerned about, or you know that we need to help in a different way, or pray for in some way, shape, or form, or maybe it's a family that they're having a new baby, and you're like, they could really use a meal train, let's do a meal train. Or maybe there is someone in their family that is sick with a terminal illness, or they have something else going on, that they need help with childcare, or with groceries, or something else. Let us know. We want to be this huge net of support for all of our families and for all of you, so that they really feel like they are being taken care of and cared about. So, any questions on your role? Claire is that? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Rose.
Well, about the off-campus activity, which I think I understand correctly, that we will all do that together, the same group that meets, and doing this together. But if you are signed up for every Wednesday,
If you're doing multiple groups?
yes.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that it might be hard because those people the families might have Wednesday as kind of set aside for their family activity. And,
Yes.
I just wondered how
So
that-
in the case of a few of you that are gonna so graciously lead for us multiple groups kind of on multiple weeks, it's a weird year with COVID, right? A lot of our volunteers did not want to come back and help this year. They're gonna homeschool. So in Rosie's case, she's gonna take on more than one group. Tony's gonna take on more than one group. And so I think we're just gonna have to work through that. While your presence at the off-campus meetings would be lovely, we know that it might not always be feasible for you to be there for all of them. You do have the option that you could get more than one group together, and then it's a great opportunity for those groups to kind of commingle and get to know one another. But we will just kind of work through that. We're gonna try not to spread you guys who have offered to lead more than one group too thin, right? And so as we work through that and finalize that tomorrow, we'll have a better idea of what will work and what will not. But I feel like If you can be there for one of them, great, but don't feel like you have to be at every single meeting. Karen?
Maybe you could get another kind of assistant. Explain to them, look, I'm leading the group. I could use somebody to help me plan the off-campus stuff. And if you could be in charge of that for the year or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion and a really great thing for all of you too, just to empower the other families in your group to kind of take on that role and do that piece. So, any other questions? Okay, you got when you walked in tonight this lovely green bag, and our goal with these green bags is that you will just bring them with you every time that you come to church on Wednesdays. Each family in the program is going to get the same bag with very similar items in it for their first session. So if you haven't opened it up yet, the contents of this bag contains a Bible. We want every family in the program to have a Bible, but to also have the same Bible. So as you are reading scripture and you're diving into things, the words all match and the kids can easily follow along. There's also in there Bible divider tabs, because what we want the families to do after their first session is to go home and actually open up their Bible, put the divider tabs in there, so that these Bibles become Bibles that get used, that they get dirty, they get written in, they get highlighted on, pages get torn out. And it's not this pretty Bible that gets put on display in their home, but it is actually their family Bible that goes with them, travels with them, and that their kids use all the time. So that's going to be one of the things that is on the lesson plan for them to do following the first session, is to go home, open that Bible, put the divider tabs in there. The other thing that's in there is the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Every Catholic family should have one. Now they do. That's in the bag. Everybody will have the same catechism. Also in your bags is the curriculum. So there is a parent's guide, and then there is the workbook. The parent's guide is really your leader book. So make sure you just look through that prior to September, that you're comfortable with kind of what is in there. The lesson plan outlines it really nicely, what specific pages you'll look at and want to highlight. And then the student activity book is in there as well. So if you have children that are enrolled in the program, you should have copies of the curriculum for your total number of kids in kindergarten through 6th grade. And then we're also going to ask families, when we send out our note this week, of certain things that we want them to bring with them and kind of keep in their bags. Because it is COVID and we can't really share supplies, we want families to just have a pack of crayons, a pack of markers, some pens and pencils that they can just use for their small family unit as part of the activities each month. So we're not having to clean things and commingle them, so on and so forth. So the idea is that everything will stay in the bag and that the families just bring the bags to campus with them every time that they come to church. Any questions? You also have in there the lesson plans for September, some of the handouts about the things that we are asking families to do, a one-pager that kind of describes what we're doing with the sacraments, so should you get questions from anybody about what's happening with that this year, all the COVID forms, the stuff that Chris covered, that's all in there for you to just look over and familiarize yourself with. So, Joe.
Is each parent going to get one of these to?
It's just one book per parent.
Yeah, right. So one book.
Because we didn't feel like both mom and dad needed a copy, they can just share.
So
Yes.
each family is getting one of these green bags.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, and then each child will have their own workbook. Erin?
You want me to explain what's happening with 7th and 8th grade in case parents ask?
Sure. Colleen?
My question is, at least initially, how much are you gonna spoon feed us some information, like, I'm just trying to rapidly take notes, so I just don't wanna forget anything that I need to communicate, especially this first, session, like supplies.
So all that's gonna be communicated from our office.
So that's not on our program.
Nope. And really, I have been in a leader position in another organization where the leaders were required to communicate absolutely every detail about the program. And it is overwhelming and it is super cumbersome. And so I do not want you to feel that way. I want you to feel like all that you have to do is to just show up on Wednesday, be comfortable with the lesson plans, and we're going to handle the communication of all of the details, all of the expectations of what they need to do, where they need to go. You really just need to be a friend. And then kind of the conversation activity starter for the small group. But don't worry about that part. And I would ask that if you feel like, okay, you're asking a lot of me, we need to know that feedback. Because unless you tell us, we don't know. And so please reach out to us at any time with things you're hearing from families. If this is not working, kind of feedback, because we can only fix it and make it better if we know about it. Does that answer your question? Perfect. And I hope people are reading our flock notes, which is really good. I think we have like a 90% reading rate, which is even better than the parish. So we've tried to be really clear and concise in our communication so that it's just right there, you read it, you know exactly what we're saying. And so hopefully that will take a lot of the confusion about what's expected. Okay, sacraments. We rolled out about 2 weeks ago what our plan is for sacrament prep for this year. It's COVID, it's a weird year. Last year we had a lot of kids that got prepped for their sacraments, particularly the second graders, and then they had to wait and wait and wait and wait to receive it. And some of those second graders didn't get their first Eucharist until August. And so what we want to do now, while school is still in session, and we have the opportunity to be able to prepare them, is to do it in person. Because an in-person retreat and experience is far more moving than doing some sort of virtual content that they have to do online. So we have scheduled all of our retreats for First Reconciliation, First Eucharist, 7th grade Identity Retreat, and then the 8th grade Confirmation Retreat. All of those are scheduled in September and October of this year. First Reconciliation is going to be a little bit different in that it's going to be a one-day retreat from 9 to 3 p.m. These will be in September at St. Pat's. Second graders will be asked to attend with one of their parents, and they're actually going to receive the sacrament of reconciliation at the retreat. So that's a little different than in years past, where you came once for the prep, and then you came again for the sacrament. And then when you came for the sacrament, everybody was really dressed up, and it was this very pomp and circumstance moment. Well, we want these kids, when they experience the sacrament for the first time, to realize that you meet Jesus exactly where you are. And you don't have to be dressed up, and it doesn't have to be this grand big thing, because we want them to feel really comfortable and just sitting with him and saying, hey, I'm sorry. And so it's going to be a really fun day, super interactive for the kids. They're going to move through 7 or 8 different small group activities that are going to prepare them for the sacrament. We're going to have an ice cream party, a live band in the parking lot at the end, and they're going to love it. So that's going to be their first reconciliation retreat, and then we're going to get them ready for First Eucharist, which is going to be a half-day retreat. Very similar. They'll kind of all move through in small groups, different interactive activities. And then this year we're going to give parents the choice that if they feel like their child is ready and prepared and they want them to receive the sacrament, then they will have the opportunity to sign their child up to do so at any weekend mass from like end of October through Thanksgiving. So if my family, for example, is a regular 8 o'clock mass Sunday morning family, I have a second grader. He's going to get his first Eucharist on All Saints Day because I think he's ready. I want him to have Jesus and the protection of Jesus, and that's what works best for us. Other families, if they're not comfortable with that, can wait until May, and they can go through the traditional First Eucharist Mass that will be the first weekend in May. So we're giving families the choice and the option, and so that's how it'll work for First Eucharist. Quilt making will also be optional this year as well. We opened that up. I think we have about 100 families signed up that they will come and do that. We're changing the experience a little bit, and that the kids will kind of have their say in how it looks and the design, but we will still do that. 7th grade, Identity in Christ. Johnny and their team are working on this. It's going to be a full day retreat at 9 to 3. It'll be here at Sanctity. What else should I say?
It's basically, it's a retreat that One Heart, One Fire does around the city for 7th graders, but it's really rooting the kids in their identity as a son or daughter of God, and it's a really powerful day.
So for 7th graders in the past, there were a lot of activities where they would have to come at night at 7:30, sometimes 2 or 3 different times. This is the one thing that they have to do for confirmation prep this year. And so it'll be that retreat. And then the 8th graders are gonna do a full day retreat, a 9 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, spirit retreat. That's gonna be led by Aaron and Johnny and their team as well, and will really be super powerful for them, just preparing them for, to receive the Holy Spirit. So right now, we know that the Archbishop is not scheduling any confirmation masses on his calendar because of COVID, and so we're just working through some options of possibly giving Father Tom permission to be able to confirm all of our 8th graders, and working through some details so that hopefully we can do it at just one mass versus having to have multiple masses, but we'll see where that goes. So any questions on the sacraments? If you have a family reach out to you and say, hey, I didn't read the emails, I don't know what to do, just point them in our direction, we can get them signed up, we'll take care of them, even though the retreats are closed, we're happy to accommodate folks.
If they're gonna do First Communion before the May one then, or are their kids still getting dressed up, and is it?
I think it'll be at the discretion of the family. Some kids get really nervous to be dressed up and be the center of attention. And I feel like when you do that, that detracts from the experience of them receiving Jesus for the first time. So I think that it's just a really personal choice, and whatever the family wants to do, we'll respect that. We will have pews kind of reserved in the front of the church for all of those weekends, so at least those families have a spot that they can sit together. But there won't be any requirement of you can only have 6 people or 8 people. You'll fill your pew, and then if you have other family that wants to come, they'll just have to fill in the remainder of the church. So
So how much involvement, if any at all, will the facilitators have if they have a child that's going to be making First Communion in their family group?
nothing.
Okay.
So the way that it will work is that we sent all of our 2nd grade families that are enrolled in either the homeschool program or family faith formation some preparation that they have to do prior to the first reconciliation retreat. So simple lesson plan that they follow along at home, questions to ask, some videos to watch. But they will do those things in preparation for the retreat, so that's not in your hands at all whatsoever.
However, if it's something you loved to be a part of in the past, you would love help at the retreat.
Yes.
So just come say hi to us and we can hook you up.
Yes, so if any of you feel really called or compelled to want to help at any of these retreats, certainly let us know and we can get you involved with that. Any other questions? Okay, I think that's it. Oh no, the lesson plan. Amanda?
Are we gonna take a couple minutes?
Oh, yes, let's take about a 5-minute break, 5 to 10 minute break. Feel free to use the restroom, get something to drink. We'll walk through the lesson plan and make sure we get all your questions answered there, and then Erin will close us with our enrichment activities for the night.
Well, we'll have your family, but maybe you can do, maybe it's a thing where you can do 3 families between the 2 of us or something like that. You know, and then, yeah. Yeah, that's another thing too. Yeah, it might be a little tricky running 3 groups at a time. Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially once we get past like the first couple weeks. where the families can kind of yeah. I mean that's kind of the idea or the hope. But we need specifically talking about this.
Well, we're gonna have it send out that email. It'll probably be tomorrow or Wednesday. Yeah, but we'll tell you all the stuff. It's gonna be good. God has a plan. For sure. For sure. Yep, of course.
So we actually have a question for you.
Yes. Hopefully I can answer it.
Okay, so yeah, we were thinking.
Play, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we were thinking about being able to run multiple groups between the two of us. But the one thing is we got to thinking about is that there's times when he has to be out of town or I have to.
I'm good, dear. How are you?
Well, I can do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can probably coordinate. Yes.
Yes, that would be good. And then one of us can cover in your room too. What will probably happen is we'll put you in a space like full and tall, where you will have
Yeah, and so if there's, so that's what I was thinking is that we could probably, between the two of us, cover 3 groups most of the time. So if that helps. Yeah, because then that'll be pretty good and it won't seem like,
Yeah, so it'll be what your group is, what time, what
yeah, and it'll just be a little bit tricky when we have to set up the 2 different groups. Yeah. Sit to it.
This one should be fast.
The one thing that, 12 and yeah. The thing is, I think I might still be out of town again.
Okay guys, we are going to keep moving here so that we do not have to keep you the whole time this evening. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the lesson plan for September. Our primary goal here is to make sure that by the time you walk out those doors this evening, you feel really comfortable with what is being asked of you going into next month. So the lesson plans will kind of look like this. It's the one that says Family Faith Formation at the top, September Small Group Lesson Plans. And every month when we send them out, at the top will be just the objectives, so what the purpose of your 90 minutes on campus is for that month, the supplies that you'll need.
And those objectives, by the way, are objectives that will be used for the whole month. So you get them for 90 minutes, but those objectives are what the families are focusing on at home for the rest of the time that they are not in your presence. So that's why when the families get this too, it's objectives for you guys to start them with, and then them to use all month. At the end of the month, then they can check their objectives and make sure that the family's kind of where they want their family to be, right on track.
So for this month, the supplies, each family in their bag that they will get as they come into church for September, they'll have a puzzle piece. They'll hopefully bring with them the decorating supplies because we're going to ask them to bring crayons and markers. We will have extras because people will forget. But their little puzzle piece will be in their bag. They'll get their family welcome kits when they walk in the door. We will have in each of the rooms a projector up that'll have the code words on it, and we'll get to that, but that'll be up in the room. You don't have to worry about that. There's balloons for one of the activities that we'll do in your bags. They will be in all of their bags. And then the science charade cards, those are in the book. Okay. So every month in the curriculum, there is a scripture and a saint. Do you want to talk about that, Amanda? I think the idea is that the families are going home and actually learning and memorizing that scripture and then familiarizing themselves with the saint of the month.
Yes, so as a facilitator, you will just point out where they're located in the family guide to those parents, and the children's book will have that in there as well. So you can start them with kind of going over it real quick, but letting them know that that's what they get to work on at home, and just point them in the direction, facilitate them to where they find that. There's a big information page about the saints, each of them in there, but you might even want to let families know that there's other resources other than just the book on that saint, where when they really get excited or interested in the saint, they can start pulling up videos online, that they can watch together. They can look at other books, there's saint cards, things along those lines. So, don't stop them at just what's in the book. If they get excited about that saint, have them explore a little bit more.
Yeah, and we will, on our Family Faith Formation Facebook page, try to share a lot of extra content that families can tap into. During COVID, one of the things that I did with my boys is we learned about a different saint every single day. And Amazon Prime has this really cool video series called The Saints, that there's like a 15-minute cartoon video about every saint you could possibly imagine. And my kids love that. So that's just a different way to kind of engage them in learning about the saints. So we'll be sharing a lot of that information with parents as well. So what we are going to do in the month of September to kind of kick off the program is, as families come to church, we are going to gather in the church itself for a gathering and a blessing. And Father Tom is going to be there. And for anybody who has watched some of the children's masses that he does for the school, he has this massive collection of puppets in his office. And the kids love it because he hides them, and so they never know what puppet he's going to pull out. But he's going to bring some of his puppet friends with him that night, and he's going to do a blessing, talk a little bit about the program, do a prayer. We want our families to feel like they are connected to our parish priests, and so we are going to be engaging them quite a bit over the course of the next few months throughout this program. He's excited to be there and with all of them, and he will be, both him and Father Moser will be floating kind of in and out of your small groups from time to time just to say hello, so that people really feel like they are seeing them and getting to know them as part of the program. So he is going to do that, and then we will dismiss from there, and you will go to your small group location that will be designated. We'll send all of that out this week of where you will be meeting. And then we're going to start a get to know you activity. So, Colleen, one of the other things that we will tell families this week is when they come to campus next month, they need to prepare a little get to know you about themselves.
Yes. So we just want to have a little bit of fun to figure out who they are. So we're going to be asking those families to figure something out fun about their family, maybe a theme of some sort. So maybe form a chant, a cheer, a song, maybe bring pictures, like a show and tell, so that when you guys finally get together in your small group and you guys can introduce each other, each family has something little to bring. That way you can get to know them a little bit more and kind of see where they fall, if they're more visual, because they're bringing the pictures and they're showing you things, or if they're more energetic, or if they're really shy and just kind of say, well, this is what we said. You'll really get to know their personality a little bit more, and then that way you have a better time of being able to facilitate them into the rest of the discussion.
So you'll gather back together, you'll do the get to know you activity, and then after that, we want the families to color their little puzzle piece that is in their bag. And then we're also giving them a larger puzzle piece coloring sheet that they can color to take home. All of those puzzle pieces are going to be put together to be part of the Family Faith Formation bulletin board that we have, which is just kind of inside the school. But we want all of the families to feel like they are part of the puzzle as one big community of faith. So that should take you just a few minutes, and then,
so while this is going on, we will have those code words that Amanda mentioned earlier up on the big screen for you guys. And what we're trying to do is pull out the important words for the chapters that they will be using for the month. And so they'll be up on a screen. So we thought it would be, another good fun activity just to try to engage the kids instead of them just sitting there listening or having that discussion, for us to be able to see these words and bring them to life. So the words will be up on the board, and what we're asking is you guys as a group to figure out when you hear those words, what your group wants to do. Some groups may want to snap, some groups may want to clap, some groups may want to whistle or whisper or anything along those lines. Just something where when they see or hear that word, as you guys are discussing going forward in the lesson plan, it catches their attention. So, and this is something where we need our parents involved because the kids will miss some of it as well. So everybody in the group decides on what your group will do for that code word. Now, since we're only broke out into 3 areas, because 7th and 8th grade will be out on their own, you might hear one group over here doing a little snap or a clap or something and a whistle over here. We're going to keep it kind of at a minimum so that the other groups can still participate, but that will raise some awareness and some excitement too, because they're hearing something. What are we hearing? What's going on over here? And we can kind of use that to our advantage. So those code words will be up there as we then begin to discuss our lesson.
And so the first lesson, we're going to use the balloon. So all of the families will have a balloon in their bag. We gave you a couple of extras. But what we are going to be, what you're going to be helping them understand and draw the connection to is that the visible to the invisible. So does air exist? Yes. But we can't see it. How do we know that it exists? So doing the physical activity of blowing up the balloon helps to demonstrate evidence that air exists. And there's some pages that we reference in the book that you can take a look at. And then we want you to actually have a discussion on that topic. And so that is in the curriculum as well.
So then we would be looking at the leader guide. Your guys' guide would be the pages we're referring to. So you're going to want to keep your leader guide out. Every so often we'll say it's on this page for the workbook. But on the leader guide is kind of where you're going to keep your pace or your nose in to make sure that you're following the right book. Because if you look at the workbook and see page 17, you're not going to get the same thing. So make sure you're following your leader guide when you're looking at the lesson plans.
Any questions?
Where's the leader guide?
It's a parent's book.
Oh, it's in here.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh.
Scott?
There you go.
So pages 17 and 18, in October, the parent guide.
Yes. So we are combining the months of September and October together. Because September's content is a little light. October is a little light as well. But we need a month that we can do Circle of Grace. So we thought that we would combine the months of September and October together, so that gives us that month to be able to do that without really skipping anything, and then we'll be right back on track for November. Great question. And I will probably, Colleen, outline that and let you know as well. Just so that there's no confusion. Let's see, lesson 2, Amanda, do you want to talk about that one?
Sure. So then, once you kind of go through that, and keep in mind the lesson plan that we're kind of giving you is an estimate of time frame. Some activities might take less time for your group. Sometimes your group might be really involved, that Holy Spirit's really moving, it might take more time. This is just an estimate to kind of keep you on track, being that trail guide that you are. Lesson 2, then we would ask that you start introducing those sacraments. So this would be a little bit of work for you prior to coming in, where we would love for you to have read that background on page 24 and 25 about the sacraments. So that way when you come in, you can just kind of help facilitate the discussion that's going on in that workbook. And then from there, it tells you that you would go ahead and you would do the activity 3, which is on page 28 and 29 together, and work on those discussions. So something like this could be where you're trying to pull in some other families, because the other families will also, the parents will have the parent guide. You can say, parents, if you guys want to open up to page 27, we're going to go ahead and we're going to work through activity A, discussion 1. Does anybody want to get us started? Because then another parent could say, oh yeah, I can ask that question. That's easy to ask that question. So they understand how easy it is to facilitate a discussion. It's also really good for them to be able to ask those questions. So that way we're kind of teaching them, even though they don't realize it necessarily. So when they go home, and we're doing activity 1 and activity 2, but then all the rest of the activities that are in that parent book and that are in the workbook is what they get to work on throughout the whole month at home. So if we can get them to understand, look, it's right here. You ask the question, the answers are here if you need it. We've got things going on. You can do this at home. You just ask that question. We had a great discussion. Yay, you guys have got this for when you go home. So it's really important that we just kind of pull them in, let them see how easy it is to facilitate themselves.
Great. One of the things as you go home and kind of read through the curriculum for October is it talks about this concept of a grace person. And we're going to change it up a little bit and put our own St. Pat spin on it. In each one of your packets in the bags that the families will get, we're going to introduce this concept of the Grace Project. And what we want the families to do is to go home and to take a box and decorate it. And preferably a box that has a top and a bottom, so one that they can easily open and close at any time. And because our focus for this year is going to be on the sacraments, what the Grace Project is going to do is, as we're going through each month and we're introducing a new sacrament and we're talking about it, we're going to ask families to put things in their grace box that are special to them for that sacrament. So for example, when we talk about the sacrament of baptism, families could put in it maybe a rosary that somebody gifted their child when they were baptized, or their baptism book, or a picture of their godparent. All things that are really special mementos to tie back to that sacrament, so that we're creating a box that is really a box of keepsakes. What am I missing?
So this year we're really focused on grace as well with these sacraments. And so by having grace be a gift, that's why we would like for the box to be decorated as this. It's a gift, it's a present, so a beautifully decorated box. And each person is part of that. So we are giving the families the leeway, if they'd like to have a different gift box, a box of grace for each child, and then themselves as parents, they can. Or if they want to have a big box for their whole family and kind of put their family stuff together as well, that's what they can do. Each month we'll continue to add to it, and then at the end we're going to have them bring their grace projects in so that they can share them with all of the small groups, and we can all be a part of that and see how special and exciting that gift of grace has been for each person in that family.
So there is a handout in your packet that explains that. Every family will also get that. We're asking you to just kind of tee that up towards the end of your session so that that's something that they go home and work on before they come back to campus then in October. So it's a project that will continue throughout the course of the year, but should be something that's pretty special for every family to put together. So if you have questions about that as you move forward or explaining it, certainly let us know. The last pieces on your lesson plan is to just make sure you have that time to set the date and time for your off-campus meeting, and then to just remind them of some of the things that we want them to do over the course of the next month. There is, for October, a car conversation, which is kind of cool. Like if you were to go Valet Park, you hang it on your rear view mirror, but it actually has one that you can tear out of your book, hang in your car, and then families can be asking their kids that question kind of over time. We talked about the Bible verse for the month, the prayer of the month, the Grace Project and the Grace Person. The other thing that families are getting in their bags is a handout that talks about creating a prayer corner in the home. Why create a prayer corner and then how to do so, but a great opportunity if you already have a prayer corner in your home to maybe talk about what it looks like, give them some ideas for the families to just kind of share back and forth, maybe what they do for prayer, but we really want to be encouraging families to pray together as a family unit at home throughout the course of this program. So this kind of just sets the stage for that to happen. And then we talked about at the beginning adding the Bible tabs to the Bible as well. That's kind of in the reminders as well. So
what's great about all those reminders is we're having you tee them up. We'll also be sending communication from the office so that they can see kind of what that is all about. And then when you have your offsites, if you're looking for things to connect with and things that make you guys together, you can ask. So how'd you guys set your prayer corner up? Where's that at? Do you have a picture of it? I'd love to see a picture of that. That'd be great. I just was getting my paper to do my Grace Project. Have you guys started your Grace Project yet? What are you guys thinking? Are you going to do a box for everybody, or are you going to do a box for just your family? How's that Bible, coming? Do you like the new Bible? Have you guys been able to get that out? Is that on your prayer table? Just other questions, because you're asking them. It brings the program back around, but it's starter questions for you to get to know how things are rolling.
And I think that there's so much value in that sharing, right? Families sharing with one another what has worked for them, what hasn't worked, just different ideas on. I remember I was in a Bible study about 2 years ago with a group of other young moms, and one of the women at my table shared that she prayed the rosary every single day with her children. And I was like, what? You prayed a whole rosary every day with your kids? But it was kind of inspiring to think that, wow, maybe I could do that too. And while we haven't quite gotten there yet for a full rosary, what that did prompt me to do in my home is to teach my boys all of the prayers of the rosary. So even though we're not praying a full decade at a time, they know every single prayer that makes up the rosary. And as we advance a little bit here in age, we will be able to do it. So I think there's such a value in hearing and sharing with one another what works and what doesn't, bestowing our wisdom upon one another. And I can guarantee that you will probably take things from your families that they are doing. And there's such power in that as a community. So that's the exciting part about kind of the sharing of what's happening at home, what's working, what's not, so on and so forth.
So there are a number of activities in your guys' book, and we're only touching on a few when we're together on our on-campus community nights. The rest of those are the ones that we are asking families to do on their own. If you as a leader, as the facilitator, decide you would like to try to do a different activity, that is something that you guys are free to do. However, that also means that the guide that we are giving them, that they will have access to, will be different. So if we're saying, well, we would like for you guys to do activity 1, 2, and 3, and you guys really love activity 4, when they come and sit down and they look at their paper because they know what you guys are going to do that night, it's going to look different. So just be aware, you might have to say, you guys, I looked ahead, this was a fantastic activity, I think we're gonna do this instead. So flip to that in your books, and then you guys can do activity 3 at home. Right? So just kind of be creative because they will have what we planned ahead of time. So for those of you that really want to, find something else in there, it's your prerogative if you want to, but just be advised that they're going to see that there's a shift. So make sure you address it up front so they don't think there's a problem.
So that is the lesson plan in a nutshell. What questions can we answer for you? Joe? I don't think so.
As far as I know, not that I know of in the Omaha Archdiocese, there's multiple different ways that you can do family faith formation. Some parishes are having only adults come in and they're being taught, and then they're sending the adults home and they don't even have the kids come in for classes. Some parishes are having the adults come in and having the kids come in, they're teaching the kids, teaching the adults separate, and then they're sending them home. Some of them are having everybody come in and do it together. So there's really just a plethora of different ideas and what's kind of been working. So nobody that I know of has videoed what we will be doing. But I do know that there's been 3 other parishes in the Omaha Archdiocese that have ran this for a number of years. I know a couple of them are on 2 or year 3 right now. And they're saying that this model does seem to work. I just don't believe anybody has videoed it.
Do you just have a question like you'd like to see it run before you do it? Because we could do one with our kids and
Yeah, we can mock it up,
That's not
for
a big
sure,
deal.
and send out a video.
See kind of what their vision was, because my wife encouraged me to do this, so quite honestly, I haven't read a lot yet. I'm sure it'll make a lot more sense when I read through everything, but I'm just trying to get the vision of, what exactly are we talking about as a family? I mean, we have a 4th grader, a 1st grader, a 4-year-old, the other families we're gonna be with are gonna have different age kids, so we're all there together, trying to engage everybody at the same time. I mean, our family alone is a lot, maybe. And then you're trying to teach them, and yet everybody's got a little different idea. I'm sure it's gonna work out great. I just am curious to see it.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. We can mock it up and show you what September looks like, and we'll bring the crazy, because my kids are
Grab
crazy.
kids from every grade level at school and do a little
Yeah.
family faith formation.
Sure, we can do that.
Just to get a feel for the tempo of the meeting and
Yep. But just know that there's no right or wrong way to do it, right? Because what I don't want you to feel like is that you are being pigeonholed into a certain box and having to do it one way. I mean, you might come and figure out that the Christensen girls in your group are really great to lead an activity all on their own. And then they can do it. And you need to feel empowered to say, hey girls, go ahead. And know that Holly will prep them enough and that they will be ready to go for that first meeting. So, we will put together a little video. We can do that this week and send it out yet so that those of you that are leading for week 1, that you have that and you know what to do. So. And that?
How much of, like, I know we have these lesson plans and such, but how much of what is to be achieved in September between the meeting at school and the meeting, I mean, you know, wherever we decide, how much of that is done in those sessions, and how much are the parents that will be with the, you know, the people who are teaching, if you will, how much is expected to be done of that at home by themselves in between the meetings? I mean, does that make sense what I'm asking?
You tell me percentage you're looking for, and I can.
Oh, go for it.
What are you thinking?
I mean, I would say that parents need to be doing parts of this every week at home, right? And we're not asking for hours at a time, but in little nuggets and chunks here and there. It's easy to take what you're learning about for the month and boil it down so that they're getting it consistently.
I would think if you're looking kind of for like a percentage-wise, we're probably looking anywhere from about 10 to 20% to be done in our 2 meetings. And the rest of that is family formation. So in your catechisms, it does state, for 2223, it says parents have the first responsibility for the education of their child. 2221 says the role of parents in education is of such importance that it is almost impossible to provide an adequate substitute. And 2226 states, family catechism precedes, accompanies, and enriches other forms of instruction in the faith. Parents have the mission of teaching their children to pray and to discover their vocation as children of God. So we are doing the part of the parish to be that vehicle to help those parents, but we are empowering the parents to do most of this at home.
And mind you, we're not... Yeah, right. But mind you, we're not asking parents to go home and have their kids do all of the pages in the workbook, right? What we're asking is for them to facilitate those experiences within the home. So it's really powerful if the family sits down and figures out, okay, let's do a prayer station. Where do we want it? Where should we put it? What should we put in it? What does it look like? And then set up a time every day, whether it's in the morning or before bed at night, that they're praying together at that prayer station. That is part of this. Same thing with the grace box, that they're having a conversation about the sacrament every month and they're putting something in their box that symbolizes that sacrament and what it means, and they're talking about it and they're building the understanding of that sacrament at home beyond what they're just learning when they come to church. So it's really about the experience and empowering the parents to just talk about it at home. And I think that sometimes is the hardest part, is you don't know where to start. So at least this is giving them the tools and the opportunity to do that. And then they have 2 or 3 other families that are going through the same thing that they can talk about it with at the same time. Does that help? And I will, when we do that first intro meeting in the church with Father Tom, we can talk about some of these pieces as well, so that the families feel like that they're hearing it from us, what the expectation is, how it's going to work, so that they're not hearing it only from you, because that'll certainly help. Any other questions, Tony?
I think on the same note of what he was saying, I like the idea, like there are suggestions, like September, it just says prayer before meals. You know, there might be families who don't pray before meals.
Right.
So that is just like, okay, that's our homework today, you know, pray
Right.
before meals. So.
Yep. So they're all really easy, tangible things to do at home that's just going to create the domestic church, right? Which is what the program is all about.
I just have a quick question. I have a 2nd grader and then a very active 3-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love for my husband to come, but what is your guys' vision, I guess, for the little ones to come as far as family, or if it's more like a distraction, or?
I think that is up to you. I think that your 3-year-old would probably get a lot out of it because they learn by watching and observing, And if their older brothers and sisters are learning the prayers and doing the activities, then I would certainly welcome them to be there. We don't plan on having an actual daycare room this year just because of COVID, but our plan right now is for those families with younger kids that feel like they need that help is to have some toys that are set kind of in your area that we can entertain those little ones with. And then members of our team will kind of be there to serve as point to just kind of help with an extra set of hands, distraction when you need it. So as we move forward in the next year or two with this program, our goal is to be able to offer a catechesis for those younger 3 to 6 year old kids called Catechesis of the Good Shepherd at the same time that this program would go on, so that we're really engaging that early education, those early education years. But that's just something with this new program we didn't have time to do yet this year. So I would say bring him, try it out, let's see how the first month goes, and if we need to adapt and do something different, you know, he could come and help me do something, walk the hallways, so on and so forth. My 4-year-old is with me every single day in the office after he finishes
Locks me out of the office once a day.
preschool, and he never wants to leave, and he loves it. So we'll find ways to engage them and just make them feel part of it too. So.
That goes for any age of young bring them, like I have an 8-month-old.
Totally. Yep, for sure. I'm happy to hold babies if you're willing to share.
Who is participating in family faith formation? Is it mostly formerly RF kids, or are there some families from the 5-day school?
So now, right now, the majority is former religious formation families. But Joe, who is behind you, is a really good example. His family and the families that have signed up to be with him are all 5-day school families who are really interested in the program, what it will add to their family dynamic at home. And so the hope is that after they go through the program, that we can really pull in more families from throughout the parish. Because this really isn't something that is just school or non-school. This is something that every Catholic family has the opportunity to really tap into. And so get ready, Joe. I'm gonna hit you up for a testimonial at the end of the year. There we go. So yes, that's kind of the long-term vision.
Yeah.
So how is the 5-day school handling first reconciliation and first communion?
So they will go through the same retreats.
Well, they started their prep 3 weeks ago. And they had a brand new second grade teacher who it felt very overwhelming for, so I've been in every room an hour a week. And so they've been prepping them every day, an hour a week. So everything she's doing to help the parents of the family faith formation kids, we're doing with the school kids. And then we'll decide at the end which pieces still kind of need to get in there. And so the first hour of the retreat will be some teaching. And then after that, they'll have rotations. It's Saint in the Making, where their mom and dad kind of fill them up on the virtues that they see in them. What saint is, each group will be named after a saint, so learning about that saint. And then my favorite part, so they'll have 15 minutes with the examination of the conscience with their mom and dad. And I was a second grader that was so petrified, my parents had to bring me on a different day. So instead of having that time to get scared in between, it's not a big deal. What things you need to say you're sorry for, and as soon as the parents know they're ready, they're gonna walk straight to the priest, and then walk straight for ice cream and pictures. So I think it'll be a cool day, and to give them kind of that sense. But yeah, the school has been awesome because we kind of shook things up at the last minute, and the teachers really wanted to make sure the kids were well prepared. So other things are kind of waiting a little bit. Some of the other subjects aren't so heavy right now, so that we can get this done, and then they'll catch up after.
But the school kids and the family formation kids are using the same curriculum.
Yeah.
So they're watching the same video, doing kind of the same similar preparation. The school kids are just doing it in the classroom, and the FFF kids are just being asked to do that at home with their parents. Any other questions?
I just have a quick question about absences. So like last year, we missed a lot because of the weather. So, but when we missed, everybody missed. So now is it just like if you miss, like that Wednesday is yours, and you just do that at home?
Yep.
Okay, and then same thing with like, if my daughter was sick, I was like an assistant campus last year, so I could like let
and what I would say is message your group and then either myself or Chris and let us know. And what we can do is just pop in there and make sure that the group's comfortable kind of getting it kick-started. And if we need to fill in, we're happy to do that. But hopefully, because every family will get the lesson plans, everybody should be able to tag team and kind of step in and help out with how it will go. But the beauty of the program is that if you have to miss a certain week, you can do everything at home with your kids. So it really makes it easy for absences, especially in light of COVID. So, Clay, did you have a question back there? Nope. Anybody else?
I travel a lot. If something happened that I couldn't be there as the facilitator, can I as a group tell my families, hey, let's meet on a different day and do this?
So technically, yes.
We default to the DRE.
Technically, that would be, you would then have 2 offsites. Remember, because we're asking for one where we're together as a community. So if you weren't at the one where you're signed up to come for community, if you wanted to ask your group to get together for a second time, that would be fine. However, we would really appreciate and would encourage those families to still come when you're not there because of the community involvement that we have on sites. So if you can't make it on site, I would still encourage the rest of your families to. If you so wanted to, you could pull 2 off sites. But we would still like the other families to come so that they don't miss out on some of the other things that we'll be doing as a community.
Anything else?
So next year is the curriculum the same, or are there new books with new curriculum?
There's new books with new curriculum every year. So right now, Sophia Press, who is the publisher, they have 4 years of curriculum. We opted to go with year 2 versus year 1 first, because Sacraments is a little bit more tangible, easier for the families to understand, but we'll rotate through those over a period of time. And I would foresee that they will continue to kind of expand that beyond just the 4, because there are so many parishes that are transitioning. Like St. Charles, they're going to start their 3rd year of this curriculum and have actually been working with the publisher quite a bit. So yes, every year there will be new books. We'll kind of decide at the end of this year if we feel like the books are worth everybody having a copy, or if we think maybe, could that money be better spent elsewhere doing something else while we're still using that same curriculum. But we know that the physical books have been a big part of the program in the past, and we didn't want to just take that away kind of year 1. So we'll certainly be looking for your feedback on the curriculum as we move forward and then into next year. Carrie?
So is this generally every month? This is generally the format. So we'll always be meeting for 20 minutes in the church.
No. That is unique just to September to kind of kick off the program. So the way that what we will do here, probably mid-September, you'll get the lesson plan for October so that you have enough time to kind of sit with it, look it over, get comfortable with it. But after that first month, families will come directly to your meeting space at church, and then you'll just get going from the start.
And so then it's from 4 to 5:30?
It goes 4:30 to 6, and then 6:30 to 8. And we just have to have that half hour in between to be able to thoroughly clean all of the spaces.
So 8th grade, will you use any of the dynamic Catholic stuff that you're using for the 2nd grade?
I'm going to default to the boss.
Yeah. So what we're doing with the 7th and 8th grade is they'll have the same saint of the month. We'll have the same scripture, so we're going to try to tie things so when they go home, they can talk about this, they've done some of the similar stuff. We are, because the school has been using Decision Point, we're going to use Decision Point. The team who is working is all very dynamic Catholics. And so honestly, the book is kind of blah compared to the real people who can bring it to life. And so what we're going to do once a month is meet as a team. And depending on the number of kids, because since the kids will be coming with their families, so instead of having a huge group of 7th and 8th graders, sometimes we have 9, sometimes we have 25, sometimes we have 30. So it's going to look different every time. The smaller groups, like I'll probably be hanging around in case they need help, but I won't be in there because too many adults are going to kill it. And so it'll always be Johnny, and then Monica Carrie Benish's, Monica Schroll, her niece, is interning for us this year. And so the two of them will always be in there. 4:30, Jim Gruff will always be with them, and 6:30, Adam will always be with them. If it's a bigger group, I'll be in there with them. If there's not, so we will meet once a month to pray through what's in that book, because the school's using it, so we want to kind of do this similar stuff. But we're pretty much taking out, okay, what is the key piece of this that's important, and how can we bring it to life for the kids? And so that will be part of their confirmation prep.
Anything else? Has this helped? A little bit? Good. We'll send out that video, and then feel free to call me if you have any questions prior to the night.
Just a little bit more on those off-site campus ones. We gave you an example of one, and we said, have them go on a picnic. You guys can definitely choose something like an activity where you can get together. You can have that bond in that community. But I would also like to remind you that all of our families have a different financial background. All of our families have different things that they're able or willing to do. So make sure we're including everybody, and we're not maybe necessarily choosing something that maybe another family feels they can't participate in. If it's going to cost too much money for them, or if it's, a family of 4 going somewhere versus a family of 6 or 7 going somewhere, where you're asked to pay a fee to get in and stuff like that, can be a huge difference for a family. So make sure you're really cautious about, what you guys are suggesting, and kind of the other families in the group. If you notice one family isn't participating because of something, please let us know as well, so we can try to help and adjust and guide. But that's when we want to kind of look out for those quieter families and make sure we're including everybody. So just be really cautious of that. Yes?
So if COVID continues on and we're in the middle of winter and we'll be in an indoor space, do we offer more suggestions, or do you have suggestions?
Yeah, we'll come up with some more suggestions. It might be something to where you guys are virtually getting together then, to do something, maybe play a game on, online together or something like that. We'll keep you guys informed as we know more of what that's going to do, but we would still like for you guys to get together somehow with them, be it, the online type of learning, the Zooms. Sometimes it's maybe like what your parish or what our parish just did with the drive-through festival. It might be, hey, we'd like you to drive through this together. Let's meet here in the Walgreens parking lot and drive through. If it's winter, I'm thinking like they have like nativity scenes and stuff like that. Everybody's seeing your own cars, but we can wave at each other and we can drive through together. So we'll try to be creative if we're really being separated out. But it's just something we want to make sure that everybody can be a part of, and that we're not leaving anybody out, because it's really cool for a family of 4 versus 6 or 7.
The other thing we might do too, Colleen, is ask families, like some of yours, who, if your kids are comfortable and you can video them doing an activity, and then we can share it on the Facebook page, and then we just direct the families to go to the Facebook page, watch it, and then do it at home. I'm foreseeing just a lot of probably more interactive stuff like that, Facebook Live, that we can keep people engaged. Zoom with multiple ages and large groups is hard. So probably more along the lines of what Amanda talked about, and then everybody kind of getting together virtually into like a Facebook Live type environment to do it that way. So I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to take a quick break and then close with our enrichment activity.
You might have said this, and I'm sorry if you did, but when do the families get their books?
They're going to get it the first night that they come.
Okay, so not before that.
Yeah,
okay.
We had envisioned maybe bringing them all tonight and having you deliver them, but that's way too many bags and a lot to ask of all of you. So they will get them as they walk into church that first evening. So they might not be as well versed in the curriculum and the book as what you are going into that first meeting, and that's just a great opportunity for you to kind of show them, explain what you've read, what you think about it, so on and so forth.
One more question really quick. So I know that you said tomorrow you're still finalizing groups, so
Yep.
when will we be contacted? Who's in our group?
I would say by the end of the week at the latest.
Okay.
So no later than Friday. So we're going to take about a quick 5-minute break. Feel free to get up, stretch your legs, and then come right back here, and then we will, Aaron's going to lead us in our final piece for the night.
Products are built tough for everywhere kids learn. So whether your student is on campus,
Even when I just see it, you're working. Even when I